Hello guys and welcome to another Albion Online video. Today we're going to talk about some early grade builds that you can aim for to have a great start and experience on the launch of the EU server. So with that being said, let's get right into it. We all know how important it is to pick your first weapon, especially on a fresh start. If you don't know why am I mentioning that, well let me show you. When you pick a weapon on Albion Online, you have to use it for a very long time because as time passes you level it up. So for example, this crossbow that I have right here on my left, I have a specialization on it, level 100. For each specialization level I get two specialization bonus to item power for the crossbows, and I also get a 0.2 bonus to item power for all crossbows. So that's why it's so important that when you pick a weapon you commit and you go all the way to level 100 and then you move on to the next one, because they do exactly the same thing. You get bonuses of item power to your other crossbows. So maxing a full tree is definitely one of your medium to long term goals in the game. So with that said, right now I'm about to show you a bunch of different builds that I think are beginner friendly and absolutely very strong early on for a short-term goal, which would be acquiring tier 4. All of these builds that I'm showing you are on tier 4. They are not tier 3 or anything like that, but they're tier 4. Just wanted to make sure we make that clear. So as soon as the server starts, you're gonna have your tier 3, you're gonna finish your tutorial, and your first goal should be acquiring tier 4. As you can see, we got a bunch of weapons here and so on, and the first build we're gonna be talking about is the dual swords. The dual swords are fantastic weapons. They're very versatile. They have a lot of mobility. This is the first ability on the W. It's called Blade Cyclone. The E has a lot of movement as well, and you do a lot of damage with a single target with a normal ability. Overall, these dual swords are extremely strong, and you get access to all of these abilities right off the bat. Also, the second Q for the dual swords is actually pretty decent, especially because if you want to do AoE grinding. And later on, you want to have the W on the third one because it allows you to get out of trouble or to catch enemies with a nice little CC. So that's why dual swords are so popular even now on NA and everywhere else. But that is the weapon. Now, what about the helmet, the chest, the boots? Well, we're gonna be taking something that you're gonna see a lot, the Adept's Hunter Hood. It is absolutely a must-have, especially early on. Early on, you are not gonna have a lot of access to many different types of armors or helmets, because at the start you will only see items that are not artifacts. What are artifacts? Let me answer that question real quick. If you are new and you don't know, let me show you what I mean exactly. So right now we are looking at the helmet, right? So we're gonna go ahead and look at the helmets here on the left side, and you're gonna see that the first one from leather is Mercenary Hood. If I scroll down, the resources that it takes is only 8 leather. Then I have the Hunter's Hood, 8 leather. Then I have the Assassin's Hood, 8 leather, and then I start with the artifacts. You have the Royal Hood that requires Royal Sigils. You can get the Royal Cities from arenas or different activities. You also have the Stalker Hood that you need the Imbued Visor artifact that you get it on the open world or from runes. Now, what I'm trying to say is that all of these helmets here, apart from the first 3, are gonna be inaccessible at the start. Probably you're gonna see one at the end of the first day, or you're gonna see one on the second or third day, but at the start you're gonna have your only options are the first 3, and this applies to every single armor set, every single weapon as well. So we were talking about swords just now, so let's go take a look at the swords real quick, and you're gonna notice that the first sword is not an artifact. You get the first 3 are not artifacts. You can take a look by just scrolling down and seeing what the resources are needed to be able to craft them. So the claymore, not artifact. Dual sword, not artifact. And then from the clearance blade and on, they're all artifacts. So it's gonna be very hard to obtain them, at least at the start. So your first options are gonna be these 3: claymore, dual swords, and broadswords if you're aiming to go for the swords family tree, right? So again, just want to make sure you guys understand why we're recommending these options, because all of these options are going to be obtainable at the start. So we're picking the Hunter's Hood again because you'll be able to obtain it, but more importantly because we are going to be using the Retaliate ability. Retaliate conjures a magical barrier, increase your damage resistances by 52 for 3 seconds, and reflects 85% of incoming damage as magical damage. This is huge. This is a huge defense ability that you will even see a lot of people to continue to use it at higher levels because of how good it is. So the jacket we're talking is the mercenary jacket, and we're using Bloodlust. So let me give you an example of what Bloodlust does. It basically restores your health with basic attacks, and you can do a very nice combo with the dual swords with this one. So let me show you. Alright, so I asked my partner to put me on a dangerous situation. You are low health. Go ahead, activate Bloodlust. You use your E, and then you just start attacking the enemy. And you can see just how much health you recover by just doing that. Bloodlust is very good, not only for PvP encounters, but also for PvE encounters. You're going to be farming early on. You're going to be having to do a lot of grinding, fame grinding, by killing mobs on the open, in the black zone, on the mists, on the yellow zones, or anywhere that you are. You don't want to have to rely on potions, which there are not going to be many at the start. So you want to make sure you have a build that you can rely on. And finally, the boots. Boots, we're taking the soldier boots, and we're going to be talking the Wanderlust. Wanderlust will fill yourself with Wanderlust, increasing your movement speed by 10% every 1 second. It stacks up to 8 times. So let me just give you a demonstration of how Wanderlust works. It's a very good ability because it actually lasts quite a bit, and it allows you to get out of very dangerous situations quite easily. It's a very good ability to catch up to people or to run away from people. This, in short, is the very first build I highly recommend you guys, just because of how versatile it is. It's super strong, not only for PvP but also for PvE. And trust me, you're gonna see a lot of people using this, and with good reason. It's definitely good. Alright, let's move on to the next one. The next weapon, you can actually use it with different armor sets. It really comes down to your own preference. A lot of people like to use it with the mercenary hood and the mercenary jacket, like we saw before, like the sword, meaning like these and like these. But also a lot of other people like to take the cleric robe and the magic skull, or even the scholar howl. It really comes down to you. And the people who takes the magic cowl normally either take the force field or they take the fire breath. Both are very good options. But what is the difference? Well, before we get there, let's talk about the weapon. The weapon we're talking about right now is the Cursed Staff. It's probably gonna be one of, or the most popular early weapon at the fresh start, on par with the dual swords. Why? Well, because it's extremely strong. It's a very strong 1v1 PvP weapon. And not only that, it also allows you from the start to do very decent AoE grinding with the Cursed Sickle. In a PvP situation, you got two different ways to use it. The first one will be on a single target mode, which is taking Vile Curse, Armor Piercing, and well, your Death Curse, right? So how it works is that you gotta stack the enemy with your Vile Curse, that being your Q. You stack it a couple of times, and then you activate your Death Curse. Just keep the stack on 4 times, as 4 times will be the max, and then you use your W that will remove the damage resistances from the enemy, therefore creating a massive amount of damage like you just saw. My friend here is playing on way higher equipment and on full tank as well, while I am on flat 4, and you saw the amount of damage we made. It's absolutely insane. That's one way of playing it. The other way would be switching from Vile Curse to Cursed Sickle. This tiny change will actually make it so you can do some nice AoE grinding when you're out there on the open world. And while you stack all the mobs with your curse stacks, you can just do your W to pierce all of them and just kill them like that. Super easy, super nice. It's definitely a very, very, very strong build. Now, let's talk about the jacket and the helmet. Your defensives in this build is the Cleric Robe. The ability of the Cleric Robe is Everlasting Spirit. Everlasting Spirit invokes a magical ward that lasts for 1.5 seconds, and the next time you take damage while the ward is active, you will become immune for further damage for 3 seconds. And very important, you also increase all your damage and healing cast by 20%. This is a little note that people forget, but you can take advantage of that if you're in the middle of a fight to make your burst damage even better, right? Also, your helmet, you can use the Fire Breath or the Force Field. I prefer the Force Field as I like to play more defensive, but that will be up to you. The Force Field will actually knock back the enemy near you, like for a couple of meters away from you. So it's definitely a good ability. So let me show you how the Everlasting Spirit works. So go ahead and attack me. There we are completely immune, and that is how you should be. Making sure to use your defensives, to be very smart on when you use them, as it can be very good, or if a bad or if a good player, or you're fighting against a very good player, as soon as you activate that player might stop attacking you and your defensive will go to waste. So yeah, this is the second build and a very, very strong one. Let's move on to the next one. The following build is with a one-hand dagger. The one-hand dagger is a very peculiar weapon, in one of my personal favorites. In fact, I think I'm gonna start with it, but I'm in a debate whether I go daggers or should I go bows. I'm still not sure, but nevertheless, I will very likely go these, but again, we will see. Now, daggers is super strong early on. Why? Because the Bloodthirsty Blade, which is the E ability of daggers, give you a lot of sustain, therefore allowing you to do PvE properly, and well, also a little bit of PvP, but more importantly, it also gives you a lot of mobility. You see, the second Q of daggers allows you to do this tiny little dash that might not seem as much, but trust me, it is a lot. That tiny little dash will get you a lot of trouble. Sorry, it will get you out of a lot of trouble. So trust me, this is a very, very good ability. Now, for the helmet, we're going to be taking the Assassin's Hood, and we're going to be taking Meditation. Meditation increases your cooldown rate by 80% while channeling, so pretty much we're going to be using it so we can always have that Bloodthirsty up. So when we use it, and then it goes in cooldown, we can just press that helmet ability, and it's back up. Now for chest, we're going to be taking the Hunter Jacket, because the ability Haste increases our attack speed by 60% and all damage you deal by 20%. This is huge. So with Haste and the Bloodthirsty Blade ability, you have a very powerful combo. Then you press your helmet and you have it back up, ready to go. Now for our offhand, we're gonna be taking the Torch. Why the Torch? Well, because it gives us that cooldown rate and also gives us that auto attack speed bonus by 11%. And finally, we take those trusty shoulder boots, because early on they're just that wonderful. All right, let's move on to the next one. The next build is that one other build that I also want to start with, but again, I'm still not sure which one am I gonna take, either daggers or this one. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comment section below. All right, with that said, let's get into it. So this other build is the Longbow. This is a bows build. The Longbow is a very fun bow that I really enjoy, because early on it allows you to AoE grind without problems. It's a very powerful early weapon. So we take the bow and we use the default abilities at the beginning, and then later on we move on to Frost Shot, and we move on to either Poison Arrow or Deadly Shot to kite people. This is a build that you want to constantly be kiting people making sure that you do damage while you move away from them. That's why we're going to be taking the mercenary hood, where we're going to be taking that crowd control to make sure we slow down enemies. Here, let me give you an example. We want to make sure that if we so happen to encounter an enemy on a lethal zone, we want to make sure we slow them down. They're away from us. We stop them, throw everything that we can while we continue to run. If they end up catching us, always we can use the jacket, which is the assassin's jacket, to go ahead, go invisible, and then try to again escape out of there, because early on the bow is gonna be very difficult build to use, because you want to make sure that you can kite and run away, and that is gonna be very, very hard, especially against some high mobility builds out there. Nevertheless, it's a fantastic build. I have one of my personal favorites. I am, like I said earlier, I really don't know which one I'm gonna start with, but I have a feeling I might start with a longbow. Alright, moving on. The next build is the spear. That's right, the spear is actually a very complete jack of all trades weapon. A fantastic option because it's just super strong. Overall, the spear gives you the ability to single target enemies with your Q. And once you stack your Q 3 times, you can AoE your enemies. You can dash towards them or dash away. That'll be up to you. The spear is a very versatile jack of all trades, like I mentioned earlier, weapon to start with. Definitely a safe option, a good option, and if you master it, you will be able to 1vx many people early on. Now for the armors spot, you're gonna be taking the hunter hood for your helmet and the mercenary jacket for your chest, and lastly the soldier's boot for your boot. And for your offhand, you're gonna be taking that torch as well, especially because of that cooldown rate. But it's overall a very solid build. There's not really a lot to say about it because it's just that strong. It's definitely a very, very strong weapon. I highly recommend it. If you hit multiple targets at the same time, like with your weapons, you can stack your stacks faster, and then you can use your W better. It's definitely a good option. The next build is with the double-bladed staff. This is part of the quarterstaff fighter tree. You got these 3 options: the quarterstaff, the ironclad staff, and the double-bladed staff. All 3 are fantastic options to start with, but my personal favorite will be the double-bladed staff. This is a fantastic option because it has a lot of mobility. You can literally jump and attack multiple targets at the same time. You can have like this kind of weird ability at the start, and then you can do this AoE attack as well that will allow you to grind incredibly fast. It's a great option to start with, but I highly recommend you that as soon as you level it up a little bit, you take the second option, the stun run. It is a CC ability, so when you run in and attack an enemy mob or an enemy player, it will stun them. So let me give you an example. So it's a build that you wanna go in, attack, deliver your stun, your damage, cooldowns are down, run away, and so on, and do it again and again and again. For your armor, you're gonna be taking the mage cowl, the mercenary jacket, and the soldier boots. We can re-engage with the mercenary jacket. You can see just how much health we recover just by doing that. So it gives you a lot of sustain, and again, you have a lot of mobility. It's a very complete weapon. It's a very complete build, and very similar to the dual swords. You have a lot of mobility, a lot of utility, and it's just very freaking good. Let's move on to the next one. The following build is one that you've probably already seen everywhere, because everybody can agree that this is the best PvE farming early build, and that would be the nature staff, because it is just that powerful. It gives you damage, AoE damage, and it also gives you sustain. And well, you will be taking your cleric robe for defensives and your mage count to increase on your AoE damage. So let me give you an example. We got here a bunch of enemies. You can just attack them all at the same time, attack with your cowl, and continue just spamming that Q, no problem. It's definitely very, 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 very strong staff. And again, you're low on health, no problem. Just use your E, and you're just gonna continue to heal yourself and continue fighting without a single problem. So definitely a very, very safe option for anybody out there who wants to solo farm and wants to have that sustain as well. The next build is with the Battle Bracers. Battle Bracers are a lot of fun. They do a lot of damage and they got a lot of movement. Like, as you can see, we can move quite a lot. And what we're gonna be taking with them is the Assassin's Jacket, the Mercenary Hood, and the Soldier Boots. We're gonna take in all of them because this is like a sort of a cooldown kite kinda like a gameplay. Especially at the start, your abilities are not really the ones that you want. You wanna have the Dragon Sleep later on, but you gotta start with creating openings, triple kick, and Fackel Smash, right? So you're gonna be playing around your cooldowns quite a lot, and that's why you wanna make sure to, you kick their ass a little bit, you use your cooldowns, you run away. They're gonna try to search, go after you, so you use your howl to keep them slow and away from you, or you use your Assassin's Jacket to allows you to reset your cooldowns. As soon as your cooldowns are back up, you get back in the fight. It's a very, 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 very strong build early on. Good fame farmer, good PvP, good mobility. What else do you need? The next build is one of my favorite trees overall because of all the weapons in the access trees are like super fun to use, and that is going to be the Adept's Battleaxe. The Battleaxe is going to be a fantastic start. There's no going wrong with it. You can actually commit with it and continue to use it all the way to end game, level it all as much as you can. Sadly at the start, the second ability is not that great, the Deadly Chop, and you want to move on to Adrenaline Boost as soon as you can. That's the first thing you want to do. After that, I would recommend you to move from Rending Strike to Rending Spin, but both are pretty decent. Rending Spin will allow you to AoE apply dots to the enemies, therefore allowing you to AoE grind much better. The way it works is that you apply dot damage to the enemies. As soon as you have 3 dot damage, then you can use your E for even more damage. You can use it twice. What I would recommend you is to use it once, because if you use it once, the cooldown is less. But if you need to finish off somebody or an enemy, use it twice to finish it off. We're gonna be taking the Hunter Hood for our defensive helmet. We're gonna be taking the Mercenary Jacket for that sustain, and lastly we'll be taking that Soldier Boots again for that mobility. Overall, axes are not it's a safe bet. It's a very strong weapon, and you'll see a lot of people using it at the beginning. I forgot to mention about the shield. You're bringing this purely for defense purposes, since you're gonna be walking along by yourself, and you want to be able to tank a little bit, since as you can see it takes quite a little bit of time for you to apply all of your dot damage before you can finally use that E. Alright, with that said, let's move on to the next one. Now lastly, this is another build I really recommend for those who are into fire. Now, jokes aside, this is a very strong build. It's a lot of fun. The fire tree is super powerful and versatile overall. What we're going to be taking is the Adept's Fire Staff. As soon as you level this up to spec 3, you want to switch to Wolf Flames. That's super important, don't forget it, because the Flame Blast is not really a very good ability. Just does that. I mean, it's gonna be very helpful for AoE farming, but you definitely want to have that Wall of Flame because it will save you, and you can also AoE farm with them. With it, you can just place it, and the enemy, well, as you can see, takes a lot of damage from it. But more importantly, you want to place it down so nobody can go after you. Let me show you. We're gonna go ahead and place that wall. Make sure that enemy cannot pass. You can see, you can just attack him behind the wall, and it's just an overall very, very good weapon. Your E is Pyroblast, which does a lot of damage. Your Q is Firebolt, that just basically throws fireballs like that. And your E just does a massive, big fireball follow-up against them. For your armor and helmet, we're going to be taking the Scholar Scout. That gives us a shield that increases your armor by 97 and your magic resistance by 26 for 4 seconds. So whenever you take damage, you will restore energy as well. So this is very, very good. And for our chest, we're going to be taking the Cleric Robe. Now, for our boots, you have 2 options, which I would recommend you again, the Solar Boots, because mobility is everything in the lethal zones. But if you're not going to be on lethal, then take Guardian Boots. Guardian Boots is still very viable on lethal, but I personally just believe that moving faster and longer is definitely better option. So that would be the Fire Staff. And for your offhand, you want to take the Adopt Tome of Spell. That it will also be available early on. You want to take it because you want that energy and that cast time reduction. So this is a very, very, very good starter build. A lot of my guild members will be using it, and well, in fact, now that we're talking about guild members, if you're looking for a guild, feel free to leave us a comment on the section on the section below asking for the guild. I will throw you a Discord link so you can come join us on the EU server launch adventure. So if you have any questions or you found this video useful, make sure to leave a like on the description. Sorry, on the description, leave a like and a sub on the video. I am Tote Torres. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.